Well, turning to a new report from a team of international scientists that has found that human-caused climate change is driving the quadrupling of costly and devastating wildfires across the planet. The U.S., Australian, and German researchers found that between 1980 and 2023, the frequency of major fires increased by nearly 4.5%. According to the study, the 200 most catastrophic fires have happened in the last decade, mostly in Europe and here in North America. Factors identified as driving the crisis included people moving closer to fire-prone areas, more frequent and extreme drought and fire weather, as well as burning of coal, oil, and natural gas.
Well, we definitely are dry in this area, but do we ever feel impacts here? Because it doesn't really seem like fires happen much in this area.
Yeah, we don't see fires very much locally here. We're a very humid climate, so it's not as much of an issue, but we are still seeing some impacts of it. If we look across the country, just in the U.S. alone, we've seen a great increase of wildfire days, especially across the desert Southwest. Now, here in the Mid-South, we've seen a small increase, but it's not much of a change because we just don't have wildfires here very much. Overall, though, across the country, the smoke exposure per person has dramatically increased in the last several years here. Just the last 5 years is nearly quadruple on average than it was back in the early 2000s. Now, like I said, we don't see fires here much, but we can still feel the impacts of wildfires because when we have desert Southwest wildfire season, it's usually under a high pressure dome, and that sends a lot of the smoke through the middle part of the country and even here into the Mid-South. So we're thousands of miles away from many of these wildfires, but it can influence our air quality and cause problems here in the Mid-South. In the meantime, it's been fairly quiet. We haven't had much of that wildfire smoke this year, so that's at least one good thing, but we've had other years before that were much worse. Right now, we're looking at 76 degrees here in Memphis, so starting to cool down. It's been warmer than average, and of course, whenever we are well above average, not just here, but anywhere, whenever we have those warm, fast droughts that set in, that's usually when wildfires can spread more quickly. Looking at temperatures around the area, we're in the 60s already for Covington, Corinth already at 64 and 66 right now in Oxford. Speaking of the drought, this was last week. Last week we had some rain in the midweek time frame, but that was just before this was drawn. If we look at this week's, those 2 areas of extreme drought have been eliminated. So that's good. We still have a long road ahead of us to really dig out of this drought, but we might have some rain in the extended forecast. Right now, we're very clear, not a whole lot happening. We've had a few clouds through the day, and we'll see maybe just a few stray clouds here and there the next couple of days, but we are going to see a little bit of a change as we head into next week. Let's take a look at the long-range forecast here. As we start to get into Sunday, we see a little more moisture coming up in the way of clouds, a little more clouds on Sunday. By Monday, we'll start to see the chance for an isolated shower around the area. It's not going to be much substance, but it's still going to be some moisture that starts to accumulate over the next couple of days as we go Tuesday into Wednesday. We've just got that moisture around the area, so hopefully we can get a little bit of rain on our lawns out there. Tonight, in the meantime, we're dropping back into the 60s for the most part. Places that are already cooler into the 60s right now are going to drop into the 50s. It's a little bit cooler back to the east. All our highs tomorrow are going to be pretty much around the mid-80s. As we look at your 7-day forecast, we'll still fluctuate mid-80s, upper 80s there Friday and Saturday. I count 87 as upper 80s, but it still doesn't feel terrible. The good news is when we have all those clouds and the extra rainfall early next week, that'll start to bring our temperatures down a little bit lower. By that time, our average high is around the 80-degree mark, maybe even into the upper 70s. So there Thursday, we're close to average, but in the long-range forecast, it looks like we rebound back to the mid-80s the week that follows.